You hit problems as a sales rep, but do you let it crush you? I always had this entrepreneurship gene of picking up a double shift and making 500 bucks. Well, you have to learn first, you got to sell yourself on what is it, what problems do I have? Am I going to be able to overcome these problems? I'm obsessed with the journey of taking that person like I was when I was waiting tables. That is charismatic, that knows how to talk to people, that is willing to work. That person is so malleable, so moldable, that it's like, if you have the right attitude, call it what it is. You have the angel and the devil on their shoulder, and you have to listen to a voice. You're going to listen to a voice. And if you pretend like there aren't voices, you're just wandering.
Welcome back to Rep to Owner. Today we have Danny Lynch on the podcast. He's built up Detox Water for the past 10 years, came from waiting tables. You will see him next year will be a solar Mongol. He's really building out some cool stuff on the back end, and excited to introduce him today and have you guys get to know him. So thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm very curious to know, just with Rep to Owner, with what you guys are doing, like what stood out when we met at the Tampa Entrepreneurs event, that thought that you were like, dang, we gotta chop it up with this dude.
So I think we were talking about this earlier as well for you guys, but every single sales rep wants a life, right? They want to live the life, they want financial freedom, they want time with their family. They feel like they're called for more, and that's why they get into sales in the first place, right?
Yeah.
And I think for you, something that really stood out to me is like you're just very faith-centric. You care about people a lot. You've been able to build some amazing things throughout your career and impact a ton of people. It's been really, really fun to see you go through, or at least hear your story, at least a little bit. We're gonna go more into it today, but just really hear you go through that transition to being able to have an impact.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, what I believe about sales is that everyone does have the dreams. Like, everyone wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. And so there's a journey that somebody has to go through when you're getting in any sales, regardless of whatever product you have, where you have to learn, like, first you got to sell yourself on, like, what is it, what problems do I have? Am I going to be able to overcome these problems, or should I stop right now? And like, there's this train of thought that I just feel like somebody has to adopt before they get started. It's like, you don't dip your toe into a pool. Anytime I'm recruiting and training somebody and they're like, man, sales is, I'd like to become a rep, but I think I might try it out. Or if you ask a buddy like, hey, you want to come to the gym with me? I'll try to make it. Like, in my head, it automatically clicks. I'm like, the chances, if I was a gambling man, like, I would bet that you're not going to make it, because no, the phenomenon of trying to do something just doesn't, it's like a nasty language. So I think for sales, when somebody becomes a rep, getting their journey started, they have to, our brains are like, God made our brains like supercomputers. And so we have to like do a reboot and then download some new software and get rid of some viruses, because a lot of the times in life we hang around people not knowingly. We just in our little hometown, and we're like, we get this internal dialogue where we just demotivate ourselves from like even getting started. Yeah. And like, everybody like resets, because time is like kind of a man-made construct. Everybody resets January 1st. They're like, I'm gonna kill it, he's here. Yeah, this is it. And so it's, yeah, I love the idea. I'm like obsessed with the journey of taking that person like I was when I was waiting tables, that is charismatic, that knows how to talk to people, that like is willing to work. And like, that person is so malleable, so moldable, that it's like, if you have the right attitude, then you can pick up anything, and you can be the most highfalutin successful NFL player, this or that, and you can't sell water to a well. You can't do anything, because you need to reboot your mind. And a lot of people, it's like spiritual, they're just stuck, and like, it doesn't matter, how's your day going? Oh, it's pretty good. It's okay. And it's like, and well, what is it? Like, I don't know. And they can't delineate or decide what it is. There's like a cloud over their head. And so, yeah, I think anybody gets started as a rep in anything, like, you have to like reboot your mind. And so, yeah, that's the first thing I realized whenever I was like just getting started in sales. I'm super grateful to the Lord to have like given me parents that always spoke life into me. So like, no matter what, I was like, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, we'll figure it out. And like, you hit problems as a sales rep, but like, it's like, do you let it crush you? My mentor always talked about, you're going to have like a little, encouraging voice on your shoulder and then like a gorilla on the other side. And that gorilla is going to be telling you that you can't do it. And so, but this is possible because this guy is whispering into your ear, you got this. But it's so easy to pay attention to the gorilla. And so it's just, I encourage everybody that is getting into that is to like call it what it is. Like you have the angel and the devil on their shoulder and you have to listen to a voice. You're going to listen to a voice. And if you pretend like there aren't voices, you're just wandering. You're just like a ship in the ocean without a rudder, without any wind, just saying, I'm leaving Florida. I hope to make it to England. I don't have a map. I don't know what I'm doing, but let's vibe out and see how it goes. I'm gonna try to get to England or New York. It's like, that's just not, I wouldn't follow that person, so they don't follow themselves.
Direction.
100%.
When you first got started in sales, what made you decide what you wanted to actually sell?
I was waiting tables one night and this guy came up to me and he took care of me, tipped me 100. And I was like, whoa. And I was like, I got a drink. You got a drink. And I was like, just let me get your change. He's like, no. And so he was like, man, it was a company called Enagic, which is like a water company. And it's a multi-level marketing water company for hydrogen water, similar to Stealth, but just Stealth's direct to consumer. But he was like, man, you like helping people, don't you? I was like, I do. And he was like, you would be so good at sales. Do you keep your options open when it comes to making more money or you kind of stay closed off? And I was like, no, I keep my options open. He's like, great. Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to invite you to come to an opportunity. And I don't invite everybody, but I see something special about you. So are you open? Here's my card. And then I was like, yes, sir. I was like 20 years old. I was waiting tables at a place called Walk-Ons. Me and my best friend, Lakota, who I run the company with, we were the first two guy bartenders at Walk-Ons because Walk-Ons used to be only women. And so we applied. We were young bachelors and we were like, this is a good idea. And so we applied there and they were like, we don't hire guys. And we were like, I know, well, we could do it. And so anyways, it was cool. We got hired on. And so as soon as I heard that, I was like, yeah, I could do this. And I thought of water. I was like, man, I could sell this to an athlete. I could sell this to a stay-at-home mom. I could sell this to a cancer patient. I could sell it to anybody, a restaurant. Yeah. And so I was like, ooh, this applies to everyone. Like, this is great. Like, I can sell to anyone. Like, my client base is anyone who's looking to get healthy. And I guess everyone's already paying for bottled water and paying for tap water. And so I just got to show them a better way to get that. And so this like expansive mindset began like downloading into me where I was like, I can do this. And so I was actually going to sign up for that company one night and then my laptop died. So I went out to my computer, went out and met Lakota, my business partner. We met for dinner and we were meeting at this little restaurant and I pull up. There's this place called Stealth Water Store. And I was like, I'm about to start selling water. Let me just go in here and check this out. And it was in Mandeville, Louisiana, where I'm from. And so I walk in, the owner's there. He's just closing up shop. His name's RJ. He was, y'all remember the Rob Deerdeck and Big Black, the Fantasy Factory? They're at a skateboarding bulldog in there, and RJ actually bred that bulldog. And so that was like, he used to live out there and random, totally random. But so anyways, he was telling me, he's like, yeah, I got this water. And I was like, dang, this is kind of like what I was about to go sell, but minus all those like multi-level marketing things. And so I was like, this made in the USA. It looks sick. It looks better than the other machines. So I'm like, let me be your top guy. Cause it was just him and his wife at the time. And he was like, hey, we're going to the Consumer Electronics Show, which is the largest technology show in the world. And I was 21 years old at the time. And he's like, yeah, do you know, so we're in between Google and Apple at the largest electronic show. He's like, I paid a lot of money to get this booth. And do you have any guys? I was like, I got a team. I got it all figured out. My dad will let me use his truck. We'll drive all your stuff out from here to Vegas. And I already got it. Don't even worry about it. Here. Shook his hand and he was just like, cool. And I was like, and the best part is, you don't even need to pay me unless I do a good job. And I knew I was going to do a good job. So I was selling him. He was selling me. And so I took my buddies out. I just assembled a little Avengers team of guys that I knew at the time. We drove out to Vegas and like had a chance to meet Mark Cuban, a bunch of pro athletes. And like, that was the inception of this water. We were debuting what at the time is like the best water that you can buy. We're in between Google and Apple at the largest technology show in the world. I was calling my dad, "Hey dad, how do I set this up?" And then it was like I was 21 and I was just like, yeah, just a crazy thing. But yeah, that led me into the water. And then afterwards I started thinking expansive, and this was 10 years ago. So I was maybe ahead of the curve, but I was like, dude, we gotta give these machines away to pro athletes. And RJ, he's an old school guy, and he was like, "We ain't giving nothing away." And I'm like, "What do you mean, social media?" And I'm like, "No, dude, I believe it's the future. Like, if we can get eyes on this, like, that'll be sick." And he's like, "We ain't giving nothing away." So I had to like buy a machine, give it to our first athlete, Duke Riley. We drove out.
You buy it yourself and just get
Yeah. Go bought it myself, give it away. And because I was like, how do I overcome that?
Yeah.
And so I
How
bought
do
it,
you
gave it
show
away.
him?
And then through some stuff that when I was in the solar side, I was just like, you use one homeowner to get a testimonial, and then you go like you build your inner conviction, you go to the next one. So our first athlete, I started calling all of his teammates. I'm like, hey, we just got Duke set up. Check this out, check this picture out, man. We can get you hooked up with something similar. And they were like, sure, let's hook me up. Then we got Deion Jones and a bunch of other guys and Mohamed Sanu. And we just started like connecting. All these were all Falcons players. And so it was just like, and then we started hitting their friends and their old previous teammates. And then we ended up with like hundreds and hundreds, almost 500 pro athletes that have bought machines where we didn't have to give it away. So it was kind of, but it all started off that. Yeah. It was a leap of faith, but I just knew if I just had that one story, and that's how it actually has worked on Davis Island here in Tampa. Just had that one player, Ryan McDonough, and then I went around and I got approval, but I had the chance to say, hey, my name is Dan. I just want to stop by, introduce myself. Here's some info. I got to get going, but I was the one that, you keep up with hockey? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, do you know Ryan? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, well, cool. Well, just so you know, like I was actually the one that set his house up. And so if you're open to it, I can at least leave you with some info. I can text you, call you. And they're like, Ryan? Yeah. They're like, cool. Well, yeah. That'll work. Yeah, sure. Just send me some info. And then so I started doing the same thing that I did with, yeah.
so smart.
And so it's just cool just because a story goes a long way. And I think in sales, everybody as a rep, when you're getting started, they call it your belief check. If you're in entrepreneurship and you're excited and you're all jacked up and you're studying, and then someone's like, well, how much money you made so far? And if you haven't made anything, you either have that voice of the angel or that gorilla that's like demotivating you. Because if you say, yeah, I've been at this for about 4 weeks, and your mom's like, well, great. How much money you made? And you're like, well, my course cost $2,000, but I haven't really made any money yet. But I feel like, oh, well, honey, you might want to go get a job. And it's like, it's a mother's instinct to look out for her children. But I think that as you're becoming a sales rep, it is so easy to be demotivated and to end up basically falling away from what your pursuit was to begin with. So I think like setting that first target, getting your first sale, even if it's a small one, even if you have to basically give your insurance premium or just give one heck of a deal away or even a free machine, it's like, I just think it's like a great way so that you can just be like, all right, I got it. I served a client. This is good. Now I just need to do that again. When I go out, still to this day, there's a gorilla. And I might be stronger, but he's still there. He's saying, dude, don't you want to just go home and be with your wife? And I'm like, yeah. Or you get a sale and you're like, it's like 11 a.m. You'll be like, I'm pretty good for today. Let me go vibe. Let me go chill with the wife instead of being like, no, I need to go pursue, like hunt. It's like, oh no, we got a little snack for today. It's like, no, like I go out when I train reps and I work with people. I really, for men at least, I try to encourage this, like, you're a provider. Like it's commanded to you to go provide. And so I encourage men to like really like not be content with just a little bit. Because in solar you can make $5,000 or $10,000 in a week pretty easily. And then for a lot of young kids, they're like, man, I made it. We were talking about the hometown earlier, where it's like when you're in sales and then
Hometown bubble.
that hometown bubble, I mean, it's pretty easy to take your foot off the gas when you make maybe your first $10,000 in a month. You're like, man, life's not about working so hard. I need a vacation, man. And then like, and plus if all this content I'm gonna get on my vacation, it's gonna work with my recruiting. And then next thing you know, they're in a cycle. They're in that, oh crap, like my bills are due. I spent all that money and gotta go sell again. And I've learned as a rep, that in sales, the number one thing that can really help you sustain is managing your money. If you're out of money, even when I'm out of money, if I was ever like broke dead, which it's happened to me in the last few years, it is so hard to go get a commission when you're in this survival mindset. Kids will make 10 grand in a month and then they'll start buying cars and all this stuff that they don't really need, but it's a young man's dream. Every month is gonna be like this. And it's like, maybe, but you're not gonna be like that every month. And so it's like, because you're gonna go through your highs and lows. And so I just feel like, yeah, that because that is, I guess, a lesson I've learned as a sales rep is you have to be so diligent, almost like as an owner too. You can't just be like, oh, everything's great. There's a lot of Bible stories about like when things are going well, you're supposed to take some of that seed, if you were a farmer, and you put it away for when there's a drought or for when there's tough times. And our culture in America is like flex, show everyone what's possible. And it's like, it works. I mean, guys build like huge companies by that, but like that is such a small section of the reality of the pie that actually make it and market themselves well and blow up and really build a sustaining team. It's like a lot of guys will try to emulate that and then they end up broke. And then it's hard to be a rep or an owner at that.
If you're, yeah, it's this day average show. You have to actually be, like you said, it's a small portion that can actually flex that way and then also be creating income. But
Yeah.
being able to, actually save and put some away and have both, I think is super important.
Yeah.
So with your transition, what did you feel were some of like the biggest things you learned when you were going from sales rep to owner?
That's a great question. Is we were talking about this earlier, is like when you are a rep, you're basically under somebody's wing. And you can be a rep and an owner. And I know what you were talking about really elevating to like I own the whole show. But as a rep, to stay a rep and then to graduate to an owner is taking ownership. And it's really figuring out how can I serve people, including the people that work for me and including my clients. And I think it's like there's an Asian saying about Tao, which is not too high, not too low, but is finding your specific, because God gives us all a journey, a path that we have to follow, is you can't get too high because what goes up must come down. And so you have to find a level where you basically get into a flow state where you're making good money, you have money in the bank, you're not living above your means. This will help a rep transition to being an ownership-minded person, and everyone starts somewhere. And so starting off as a rep, moving towards ownership, I feel like there's like probably rep to owner. I would say the two is both, where you have to be a rep and an owner to become an owner. And because you need both of those too. And so it's like you have to take ownership of understanding, like, let's say we all opened a taco stand together, all three of us. Like we can say we have the best tacos, the best product, the best all of Tampa. But if no one knows, if you start off and you're selling life insurance, if nobody knows that you're in business, well, who do you sell to? I swear we have the best. Well, how many clients do you have? Well, I haven't got that part yet. So you need to learn leadership. Because you have to lead yourself before you can lead others. You have to learn sales because you might like if you have, and then if you have the best product or you have the greatest water machine, the greatest solar panels, the greatest offer, or like, but if nobody knows you're in business, if you're a real estate agent and you don't promote yourself and you don't master marketing, then you won't ever be an owner because you'll just be a rep saying, feed me, give me some leads. I need leads. Will you give me leads? Will you give me leads? I need leads. And it's just like that person stays a rep. But when that person says, hey, I don't need your leads, I don't need your leads, I make my own leads, I sell my own deals, and I know how to own and manage my own lifestyle, then you become an owner. You become an owner of your own business. And then when you do it successfully over a sustained period of time, you like will go to networking events and places and people will be like, man, there's something about you. What do you do? And next thing you know, you're recruiting, building a team. You're leading people and they're willing to, their gut instincts or whatever you want to call it is saying, I want to follow that person because she seems like she's got her stuff together. She's easy to follow. She seems like I aspire to learn from her because she's got her stuff together or he's got his stuff together. And so that you can't You can't fake that for a long period of time. You can fake it for a little bit, and then people start catching up after a month. They're like, "Hey, I don't see you cold calling anybody. Well, what is this? Oh, so you're making money off my deals? Okay." And people can get in this weird cycle if you started it off, the relationship off on like a weird like, "Oh yeah, I kill it. I do this," and like it's like acting like you're a beast in the gym, and somebody's like, "Hey, will you go work out with me?" And you're like, "Oh, I don't know." It's like that you're always time is either gonna promote you or it's gonna expose you. And so ultimately I just like that owner that I love the rep side because it's like that's the hardest part is becoming an owner of your own business and then eventually leading others is like it's hard. It's hard to manage yourself, let alone a family or a wife or a business. It's like it ain't easy, which is why most people prefer a comfortable job or something that's predictable. But I would argue that the most predictable is your efforts because you can predict your own efforts. If you work at Amazon, I bet a lot of people were like, dude, I'm about to retire with Amazon. I'm gonna make so much money. And then 8 months later, they're like, hey, you're being laid off. We're hired a robot for you.
They fired 25,000 people
Yeah.
a month ago.
Yeah. And so it's like, what do you say then? Well, no, what about my 401? Yeah, we'll give you a little severance package. But I'm an engineer. Yeah, but we got AI now. And so it's like, I think it's just a really interesting thing it's like people call that, society calls that safe. But I would say the real safety is in saying, I know how to go. If y'all took solar and water away from me and I had to sell car detailing services or something, I know, well, I have great machine, I got the best detailer, but I need to hire this guy, so let me go knock doors and meet clients, and then and provide an offer. They're either gonna say yes or they're gonna say no, but if I don't ask, they're gonna definitely say no. Jordan said, "You miss 100% of the shots you don't take," and so I just feel like when it comes down to that, you have to at least be willing to market yourself, take care of leadership, take care of and then I think what you were talking about earlier is systems. When you have marketing and sales and leadership down. Now it's like, well, how do you operate each day? And that's what systems gets into. And then that's what helps reps become owners, I would say.
And I really like what you were saying earlier of like for you, like in this in between phase to like really just owning your life. Like, just like you were saying earlier, if the solar industry went to crap tomorrow, you're really able to just transfer into another thing. You know how your life operates and you know you're going to be fine at the end of the day. And I think when you are in that rep phase, it's like, hey, where am I getting my leads from? I don't know if I'm going to get the next deal tomorrow. Like you're still figuring that out.
Golden handcuffs.
Yeah,
the leads.
The golden
When you get fed off leads and you can't produce your own, or you don't have the contacts to produce your own, then you could call it sick. But what happens, and I know this is like far-fetched, but what happens if the marketing, the lead system died? What if the internet went out? Are you gonna say, honey, if you're a husband, honey, what do we do? My leads are gone. She's like, well, you better figure something out. And so when it comes down to it, it's like you can't just pretend like leads are always going to be there forever. Like you have to develop some skills that are outside of just leads alone because I just feel like that is, I guess somebody could say it's not bad to have golden handcuffs, but if you really want to become an owner that goes beyond just one business,
like an owner of your life too.
yeah. I would say that's really important just because a lot of folks, they just because you're making 40 grand a month doing life insurance or something or solar, it's like how I would ask the question, an onion layer deeper. Well, tell me about your life. Tell me about where you're at. Tell me about like just like the other areas of your life because just because you're making that, I bet a lot of people at entrepreneur events and stuff would be like, what? 40 grand? I want to follow you. But that person may be being fed leads by a crappy lead provider who is barely getting it done, but can't really scale to being a full business owner. And so this person quits what they're doing, maybe solar, to go do something else. And then that lead source dries up and then they're back to trying to go back. And I think a seesaw mind, a double-minded man, James says in the Bible, it says is unstable in all of his ways. So if you're always jumping from this to that to this, it's just like, it's a very, you're not able to, you can do this and that. But when you say, oh, I'm not going to do solar anymore, I'm going to go to that real estate agent and like you're just cutting solar out altogether. I don't think that's a strategy because no, it doesn't cost anything to be in solar. Doesn't really cost much to be a real estate agent. You can do multiple things at once.
I think sticking to the plan of what you want to do. So
Yeah.
like you said, you can do this and that.
Yeah.
So that and is
We live in a gig economy. I mean, any successful person you meet does, especially at the Tampa Entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
I'm asking, I'm like, what do you do? We're like, I'm in videography, I'm a banker, and I do Airbnbs on the side. I'm like, good for you. Like, yeah, yeah,
One thing I really liked earlier that you said too, I think with that is you really transitioned into ownership from like leading in like from the front and just like all these aspects too. It's
yeah,
like you were able to go through like really lead from the front. And I think that enabled you to go through and solve like the problems that you needed to. You bought a water filtration system out of your own pocket
yeah.
to just like solve the issues and then move on. I think that's enabled you to plant flags in multiple areas where it's that, and then you can also do solar and then whatever else you want to go through and do too. I'm sure you could.
Yeah, leadership is like a really hard thing to wrap our minds around because you don't know what you don't know. And so if you just see some guy driving in with a Lambo, you're like, I'll do whatever he tells me to do. But the reality is like I'm 31 now, as I get older, I would, with the wisdom God's given me, if I saw that and even if I was broke and needed the money, I would say, hey, can I shadow you for 72 hours? You really want to work with me? "Oh, yeah, yeah, you seem like a stud, you'd kill it at my company. Can I shadow you for 72 hours and see what your day in the life is like?" And I guarantee you there are some people that are following these gurus with, like, the sports cars and stuff. If they did let you shadow for 72 hours, it would see a whole lot of nothing. Realistically, if you had a GoPro on your chest and you followed that guy for 72 hours, some of them are killing it, and they just love nice cars, and that's sick, good for them. But some of them are like they're off balance. They may be A plus in the business sector and then a D minus as a son, as a daughter, as a husband, as a mother. And so it's just like, am I really gonna pursue my whole life because you have money? And so it's like there is a sustainable, because you'll blow up chasing that guy doing that, but then you'll end up offbeat in other areas and you may end up depressed or on substances or going to party. Every young man that's in sales typically has this journey where you start killing it, making money, and you're around women and this and partying, and then next thing you know, you've lost sight of why you even got started to begin with. And the world loves to talk about the fancy things like, look, you could be like this and that, but I don't think a lot of people really talk about like the sustainability of like networking for a lifetime and not just trying to recruit for today.
When you were making like that switch over to ownership, I guess, like what were like those hard times you struggled with?
Oh, man. Is so I put my life into categories, and one of them was being single, one of them was kind of being a boyfriend, and then now I'm a husband. And so when I was single and I was running a company, it was just about numbers and money and getting hyped, and like just leaderboard, 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 and I was always trying to lead from the front. Like I wanted to be the owner that was also, like we talked about, the rep that was like I was the owner, but I was in the front of the battle saying, "Dang, Danny's up there and he's doing it. Okay, well, that's pretty cool. Well, now I'll listen to him." And so, but as I became a husband, it was like a total shift to where I had to really think about like my wife and my future family. It's like what are because like reputation comes and goes if you build it on worldly things. But if you really learn about service and like taking care of people and like literally trying to build a network for a lifetime and not just try to like partner in business real quick to make some money to just see what happens, let's try it out, even at a high level. You got a Lambo, I got a Ferrari, we must be doing something right, let's collab. And it's just like, it's a lot of the times people will enter into business relationships or try a new venture and they're not really thinking eternally. They're not thinking about like their wives or their families, and they justify it with I got to go to work and make money. But like as I transitioned to an owner, I just really started thinking about like how can I structure my life going from a rep to an owner to actually build something that is like that I can be proud of, that I can actually share with my wife and share with my children, and then look at dad and be like, that's sick. Like he literally went through the trenches. And so it's a different mindset. I know for a fact it's a different mindset than when I was in my 20s, just killing it in solar, just making money and blowing more money than I was making. And so it's like it's just a funny thing because a lot of young men and women in sales are just attached to like these desires that are just focused on money. And it is like it's definitely business. I get it. There's nothing wrong with the money, but like people's the heart posture, if you could have a microscope inside their heart, you would see that they're doing it likely for things that just fade away. And then when those emotions fade away, whether you're a rep or an owner, it's just like they call it burnout, but there's no such thing as burnout. We're not candles. And so it's like we're not built like that. But when you're doing it for a Lambo or a penthouse, and then you get that and you're like, and you don't have a relationship with the Lord and you don't really know where you're at, then you're like, "Ah, I just don't feel like this is it for me. I need to do something different." And like there's always
That higher purpose.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, we talked about that earlier. And so yeah, I definitely think like, yeah, that and if I was to mentor a new rep that wanted to become an owner, I would audit their heart before we get started. Because everyone's down to get in line to make money. But then it's like I've seen the memes where it's like who wants to get rich and then like who's willing to do the work and everyone's in one line just wanting to get rich. But it's like it is not nobody really, at least what I've seen on Instagram, really goes into like the dark stuff of entrepreneurship of like what it's like the real battles. Everyone just goes out like my coach, he's funny. He's like a lot of these networking events, it's like it's the guy, it's his last clean pair of underwear, is his last little outfit. His apartment looks like a mess. He just threw on some stuff and he looks like all he's got it together. He looks great. And then and so but if you went back to his house, his life's in disarray, but he's like trying to put on a face. And how's business going? Dude, great. By the way, everything's good, no problems. I mean, dude, honestly, I think I might hit 7 figures this month or just something stupid. It's like people just say like, oh yeah, my business, I have a double X. I'm thinking about exiting in 2 years for X amount of million. And it's like those people usually need the most prayer because it's like there's nothing glamorous about entrepreneurship, about being a rep or an owner. There's just yeah. That's why like when you meet a real business owner and another business owner meets a real owner, there's like this sense of like I respect you. Like I know you do a different industry. I know you do a different industry, but like I know you've been there. And I think we bonded on that at the TE event because it was just like, you've been as soon as I heard you had some door-to-door experience, I was like, and sales experience, I knew in my heart that there was just like a piece there because it's like when you battle tested, that like people have been through some things, and for the people that fade away and do some other gig, it's not the end of the world, but it's just like you can see when times get tough, where does the heart go? And so
How do you feel like your faith helps people in when times are tough and when times are good within your business system?
yeah. Hebrews 11:1 says, "Faith is the substance of things hoped for with the evidence of which is unseen." So if you that's like the definition of faith. And so it's when like it's played a huge part because whenever you get into commission only sales, you get jacked up on the money. I'm a blow up. Life's gonna be great, and then you hit some obstacles. And faith, by that definition of faith, faith is the substance of things hoped for. So whatever you hope for, but the evidence of which is unseen, meaning you can't see it. If you could see it clearly, you don't need faith for it. And so understanding that, like, I mean, just, yeah, there's definitely going to become some really dark moments where you have to look yourself in the mirror and some eyes and be like, okay, should I go back to school or something? Should I be doing something different? You have to really audit that heart posture. And if you don't do that, I don't know what people lean on without faith. I mean, it's like, what do you lean on? Maybe one more commission, grinding more. I need to put in 17-hour days instead of 13-hour days. It's like it fades, and it definitely it will blow you up, but then you'll end up a multi millionaire in your 40s, and you will be lost without direction. And I'm not saying that it doesn't work, but it's just it won't last. And it's like it's
End up lost.
yeah, what is it? The Bible says that it's for a man to gain the whole world profit the whole world but lose his soul. It's like, what, dude, you got all this money and you lost all your purpose. And so it's just like, for what? Like, and you, okay, you're a billionaire. There's thousands of billionaires. Okay, you're a millionaire. There's millions of millionaires. Like, what good is that now? You're gonna die just like everybody else. And so I just think it's like just auditing that hot posture, faith. I really like, I don't know what people lean on without faith. Like, I just hope, desire for another check.
Have you always been that way, or was there a certain point that you really like dived into like your faith?
I grew up around it. It was just like I grew up in church and just kind of like I like adopted it just by proximity. And then once you become like when I turned 18, I just had this super rebellious gene in me. Just like, and I was just like, you know what? I love my parents, but I was like, I knew that they could, if they were gonna turn my phone off or not pay my rent, then they would be able to kind of use that over me, not in a bad way, but just a young rebellious mind was like, I'm gonna pay my own bills. I'm gonna wait tables. I'm gonna do this. And so like I always had this entrepreneurship gene of like picking up a double shift and making $500 or whatever. And then as I went into my 20s, definitely just was just a young little goon, savage kid, just running around, making a mess. And then as I really approached 30, I audited my life because I was like, dang, okay, so I've made money, I've lost money, I've built businesses, I've lost businesses, I've like built this thing and then it's faded. And so now what? Like I'm going into 30, I think, man, just like it's nice to be able to attach a timeline to it. You're like, people do it every year, January 1st, like I was mentioning. Like this year I'm gonna kill it. But like once you're 29 to 30, you can just like in the teen when you're a teenager, you're like, I can do whatever. And then you turn 20 and you're like, well, I'm kind of becoming an adult, I guess. And then once you're like 30, I'm not Jewish but it's like in 30 you become a man. That's like when your life starts. And so I was like, that's like when you're like a senior male, basically, like you have no more. So when that happened, I just thought to myself, I was like, dang, like if somebody asked me and like I'm 30, like everyone's gonna judge everyone no matter what. But I was just like I can't, I'm just figuring it out, just vibing, just trying to make the next move. It's like, bro, you're 30, like make some moves, like put your foot down. Let me know what you stand for. Let me know what you don't stand for. Yeah. And just establishing a foundation, because especially for the young men that do want to get married, like you better have your stuff figured out, because if you want a woman to submit and to be a great woman, like you better become an A+ man, or else she has nothing to submit to. And so it's just like it takes a real certain type of mindset to be like an owner of one's life, even if you don't own a business. You to be like, all right, I'm gonna take care of this. I mean, you don't have to work unless you want to. This is what we're gonna do, and stand for something. And I just feel like a lot of, like entrepreneurs, they may figure that out when they're single, but as you evolve into the later years of your life, like being 30, it makes it sound like I'm an old man, but as I do that, thanks. Yeah, as I do that, I adopt like what is gonna last and what's gonna burn up real quick. And like the money I made in my 20s burnt up. I burnt every dollar. Like literally, and that's what most sales reps do. Yeah, they're driving a car that is way above their means, and as long as business is going good, they can afford it. But yeah, I mean, there was just some definitely like a big heart posture change with my faith and work going into my 30s, where I was just like, okay, like when am I gonna stop playing this hamster wheel of entrepreneurship, making 40 grand in a month and then literally finding some stupid way to spend 40 grand that month. It's like, it is Tampa's like,
You can always find a way.
yeah, you can.
The world's trademark.
Yeah, that is the world's trademark.
But yeah, no, faith has been a huge part, because I mean, the heart posture is literally everything. Without it, I would be curious to maybe start my own podcast, interview somebody to be like, what is it that you strive for? What is it that's interesting to you?
As we could hear a lot of those same answers that you were saying yourself, which is that next check, that
Yes.
move, that next materialistic, having strong faith is important. Do you see the habits and routines that you have change along the way from being a sales rep to an owner, or evolve?
Yeah, they have the discipline of when you're an owner, when you're a sales rep, you just gotta take care of yourself. Like, you just take care of, like, your little corner of the world, and you're good. But as I've evolved to ownership, like, you have to, especially if you're, like, a legitimate owner that has, like, a heart towards serving, like we were talking about. I started off serving, waiting tables and bartending, and so I was like, that's where my heart started, serving. I correlate that a lot to leadership when you become an owner, is because if you really care about your reps, like, you low key and you took that person, Johnny or Sally, under your wing, you can say, if you're an A plus leader, you can say, "You know, it's just Johnny didn't work that hard, man. It is what it is." And so that's why he quit. But as the reality is what, like, what steps do you have set up to make sure that Johnny doesn't fail? Because if you, when you recruit somebody, if you have a, like, and that's something I'm still working on in full transparency, but it's like, when you recruit somebody, you're literally saying, I can take care of you if you're a real owner. I have systems, I have leadership, I have teams, I have training, I have leads, I have marketing, I have sales training, all that. I take you under my wing. If you're working at my company, I'm gonna be present for you. I'm gonna be available for a Q&A, and if I'm not, I'm gonna assign a leadership that is available, and then I'm gonna build some sort of CRM that can follow up with you to make sure that you actually succeed. Because if you quit, technically, it looks bad on me. And so it's like there comes this reality of, like, if you really want to be an owner, you have to ask yourself, why? Is it to stop working so you can break whatever, I guess we call the golden handcuffs? Or is it because you've learned that your skill set's so valuable that you can actually teach other people to do it, and not just sell a course or something, which is nothing against that, but, like, actually to say, like, hey, I will take you. I'm gonna accept you under my wing, and I'm gonna force success upon you because I'm gonna be big brothering you, just like a personal trainer would in the gym. It's like, you don't. If I was a personal trainer and somebody, like, was like, hey, I'll be your client, like, I would say, hey, I'll do it under one condition. On your back. I'm gonna call you. I'm not here to be your friend. I'm definitely not here to be your buddy or your pal or anything. I'm really not even here to just be your boss. Like, I'm here to be a drill sergeant to make sure that when you get that gorilla on your back, like, that you can actually navigate those waters when the waves of life get really tough. Like, are you just gonna just give up? Or are you going to say, no, let's keep sailing. I know this is just a storm and this too shall pass. And so it's like, that's a whole different type of leadership. Not saying I have that mastered, but it's like, that's just a responsibility to where if you really do want to become a leader or an owner, as like, what would you have done differently if you were bringing on a new day one rep that is just, like, fresh out of college or high school, that just wants, or maybe somebody that's 38 years old or 45 that is, like, tried their career and they're just ready for a new start in life. How do you, like, disciple that person through waters that, like, seem impossible to navigate? They just seem like it's almost impossible to have faith because it just seems like you can't do it. And then to have that encouraging voice to be like, no, you got this. All you need, get your flashcards, learn the objections, go through the fundamentals, tell me about your personal life. You can't be an owner and just teach somebody how to do business. You have to teach them how to do life, and you actually have to ideally give them resources outside of life to where, like, it's not just about, like, oh, bro, you just need to master your objections. It's like, that's a part of it, but, like, you also, they may be depressed and not have a relationship with their dad and their mom, and, like, that could be eating away, which is why they haven't mastered their flashcards yet, because they're caught up in their head. Identify product, person, and company. Product is, what are you actually gonna be selling? Is it something you can get behind? Would you sell it to your own family? Would you sell it to your friends? Would you sell it to a random stranger? If you were to sell it to a random stranger, would you be able to sleep good at night? Do you really feel like it helps him or her get a better life? The company is, what type of culture do they have? Is this something I can stand behind? Is this something that, as I do blow up and grow up, like, and my friends are like, what are you doing again? Like, is this something you'd be like, dude, let me tap you in. I'll introduce you to the company, and if it's a good fit, maybe you could do the same thing. And then the person is just doing a personal audit, is basically just saying, why do you want to get into sales? What is so important for you to quit your 9 to 5 and get into this? And really give me your best sales pitch on why you can't do your 9 to 5 and then have your 5 to 9, and actually have, like, a different, because I mean, as far as I'm concerned, say somebody had a 9 to 5 regular job and they wanted to get into solar, I would say, okay, well, when you get out at 5 p.m., it's only 2 p.m. in California. And so before you just make some miraculous jump and go all in, if your heart posture's not right and you're not ready to call it quits, then like show me your work ethic from 5 to 9, because that's from 2 p.m. and you can technically go to midnight if you want, because we live in this digital world now where you can sell solar from here in California. And so before somebody just jumps, I would say person, product, company. And if you can't do that, I suggest you keep your 9 to 5, because I mean, it's otherwise you try, yeah, I'll try life insurance, I'll try pest control, I'll really try it out. The wisdom God's given me and that the people I've been around like that, you ain't gonna try sales out. Like it's literally gonna try you out. And so like don't go in thinking you're just gonna crush it and it's gonna be easy. Like it is, you have to like rewire your brain. Like you have to go above and beyond of what you typically do in a 9 to 5, because 9 to 5 you get paid no matter what. And so like solar or pest control or real estate, like you don't get paid anything until you produce, but when you do produce, you get paid as much as possible. And so I just think that nobody really thinks about that going into it, but that would definitely be my piece of advice, because a lot of people they just get shiny objects syndrome and they just want to just jump in and kill it to make some bread. And then they don't even know what to do with the bread when they get it. They're not like, oh, I need an investment property, which is going to require $73,000 to be able to do A, B, and C. So I need to make 73,000. So I'm going to keep my 9 to 5 and do this on the side so I can make an extra 73,000. That person, I would say, let's go all in, because that person's thinking.
Locked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting.
Great question though.
So after they go through and figure out those things in their personal life, obviously figure out like what the actual business is going to be, like where would you advise them to go from there? Like going all in, or like how would you coach them through that?
Yeah, everyone has their own journey, their own walk of life. If they're trying to make an extra 15 grand a year so that they can because that's what entrepreneurship is. It's not this or that, it's this and that. And so anybody getting started in sales, I would recommend, because most salespeople they call it the revolving door. They're in and out. They tried it. They tried this job. They tried life insurance. Now they're going to try real estate. If that doesn't work, they're going to try this. And so I would give them the advice of like really like identifying what their income goal is. I mean, like, what do you want? Do you want money for your kids' college tuition? Okay, well, that's how much? Okay, at $15,000 a year. So let's discuss how can you make an extra $15,000 a year. And if your question was about maybe that 19-year-old kid who wants to decide, should I go to college or get into sales? Would you say that's more of like the persona of the person that like is at the other end of this question? Like a young man or woman that wants to go all in on sales, maybe doesn't have a 9 to 5. I believe it all starts with your why, as to why you do want to get into leadership and why I mean, maybe it is more money. And like that's totally good. It's like, well, find somebody that can serve your weak points. And because nobody in the world, even Jeff Bezos and Elon, are good at everything. They literally are, their advice to other people is find a partner that complements your weaknesses and that y'all are equally yoked in terms of your faith, your goals, your outcome, and that your business partner or the guy that you're gonna build and be an owner with is not just chasing a Lambo, to where when he gets that Lambo, which is so doable, that he's just kind of is like, man, come on, dude, you work too much, bro. Let's vibe. Like, let's take the guys out and show them a good time. And like, and next thing you know, they're all living as degenerates, and then your business goes up and then it goes down. And so like it's got to be a personal audit of what you really want out of the thing, out of the opportunity. But definitely, yeah, working with people, my partners and the people that I'm growing this business with, they complement me so well and they check me, because I live in idea land. I love ideas and new things and integrating, but it's like that too. They need to be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. We were just talking about this. Like I have like these type A people around me that are like, I love it. We have an AI note taker in here.
Like, Danny, calm down.
Yeah, we captured all of that.
We love our air note.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And so it's like, all right, we got that, but let's go back to this point. And me having that as an owner now is so valuable that it's arguably like, I mean, it's like being the best wide receiver in the NFL. If you don't have a quarterback, like you have no stats, you're a joke, and you're just getting overpaid. And so it's like every championship team is built with the right players on the team. And then even on top of that, you have to have the right coach. And even on top of that, you have to have the right culture and a single-minded mission to where you're not just like, yeah, I'm trying to score. No, me too, bro. I'm trying to score too. Yeah. And it's like, it's just, it doesn't, there's no like congruency. Yeah. You're just playing a game called business.
Speaking of, what type of systems do you have in place to push things forward, or would you recommend for a sales rep to get in place when they first start that transition as a business?
Total excellent question. Totally new in my life with this because I just kind of ran the sales game for a long time. But is having what my pastor calls and what my wife calls is like weekly rhythms to where it's like so many people when you're in sales mode, you say, gotta wake up, gotta get leads, gotta close deals. And that's it. And you can literally go private jet with that. And like that's great. But it's like you also need somebody that has a different mind that says, "Hey, dude, we have to do a leadership training. We have to track the KPIs and OKRs, and we need like to update our CRM, and we need to track what is it that we're aiming for, and like kind of like the nerdy like data driven decision makers versus like I operate out of a lot of excitement, faith, and like we got this. How? We're gonna do it. We're like we'll figure this out, and so having weekly rhythms where you actually are not just focused on sales. Sales drives a business, but what sustains a business is data, AI, leadership, like the back end stuff. And so making sure that when you're getting into an opportunity as a sales rep or you're a sales rep trying to become an owner, you have to establish those systems as a culture or else what by default is going to happen is you're just going to try to crush sales too. Everyone's going to try to crush sales and no one's really paying attention to the profitability of the business, how to sell, how to exit a business, how to build something that is designed to like to last and to like what I've heard about entrepreneurship is every good business plan starts with an exit strategy. And so it's like, and if you don't have an exit strategy, you're just hustling. And that works. You can hustle up a lot of money. But like if there's no end goal and say, hey, we're gonna try to build this, we're gonna try to do this, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna take care of that, and then we're gonna exit for 70 million. If we attach these things. So how do we reverse engineer that? I think it's big, but if you don't have an exit plan going into a business, you're not just gonna come in and sell solar forever. Like that's just not it's not sustainable. Maybe real estate, maybe, but it's just like there's so many businesses that if you don't build an exit plan going into it, or you don't need to say, I want to pick up solar so I can make an extra 300 grand this year so that I can buy my first 2 rental properties. That's an exit plan. Doesn't mean you have to exit forever after that, but that's like your end goal. If you don't start with that, you're just basically floating through, trying. And so definitely great questions.
What about if you had to restart your entire business? What would you do next 90 days to build your contacts back up?
The solar or the water?
Whatever you like.
Yeah.
Any business.
Any business, I would just say I'll put it through the frame so I can give value in of solar. If I had to restart solar, I had no reps working with me. I would take the audit, very similar to what I just mentioned, is decide, okay, what's my goal? It's I have no reps. I can't like I need to build my first testimonial. So build my first case study of a guy or girl that I recruit that can come in and be the poster child so that other people can say, wow, anybody could point to Danny and say, wow, he's good at talking or doing this. But it's like, oh, wow, she just joined and she did that. Okay. That's pretty encouraging. I think I can do this. And so always having a poster child in the business, if you have to restart a business, is like find somebody that you can build around. I think a foolish owner tries to build around himself, but a wise owner tries to build around somebody that is like, that has that engine and it could be somebody brand new, or it could be somebody that's already been in the industry, but like you edify, you build them up. Sometimes if I got on a leadership meeting and I'm like, y'all, keep it real, I'm killing it, I'm crushing it, and y'all should come work with me because I'm blowing up. It's just like everyone would get the ick. But if I got on and I'm like, hey, our newest rep, Marcus, he joined last week. He's been following all the directions I've been giving him, and he had just cleared $14,000 in his first week of being in this. But Marcus, has it been easy? No, it hasn't been easy, but you're following directions, good. And so now the rest of the people in the room, they see me, the leader, edifying somebody else and building up somebody else, which I think is very noble, as opposed to saying, look at me, I'm killing it. And I think that's like, if I was to restart everything, it's grab your first protege, and at least with the way I've been trained, you can't teach them, you have to show them. You have to say, hey, come get in my car. That's what I did with my wife before we ever like were dating or had any romantic relationship. I was like, she was like open to the idea, and I was like, hey, get in my car, I'll come pick you up tomorrow morning, we're gonna go out to the field, we're gonna get a deal. First door I knocked, we got it and sold it. And she was like, this is easy. And I was like, yeah, I was like, it ain't always gonna be like this. But it was just really cool because it was like that's what I was taught by my mentors. Like, bring somebody in, show them how to do it. If I was running a life insurance agency, I would say, hey, come sit with me tomorrow morning at the desk, and I'm gonna literally be cold calling. I'll be running leads. I'm gonna close a deal right in front of you. Are you down? All right. So dress up nice. How you show up is how you're gonna blow up. So look right, come correct, and be there at 8 a.m. And I would say, and then we're gonna start calling. I don't need you to do anything. Just watch. I'll do everything. I'll show you how to get a deal. I'll show you my bank statement when the deposit hits, so you know that this isn't a theory, this is real. And I was just, if I had to restart, I would just 100% just do that, rinse and repeat, any product, any service, anything. So yeah, it's a different, I'm still learning a lot in life, but like it's a different type of aura, swagger, something when you're like, sit here and we're not getting up from this chair until we make money. That's like, this
Yeah,
guy's either,
it's
this
like
guy's, yeah, this guy's either capping or he's about to show me something. And that is like, that's just a different level of leadership. And I got taught that way, which is the only way I can teach that way. So it's not like, hey bro, take my course and let me know if you kill it. It's like that is how a lot of the world works now. But if I had to restart, I would pick my poster child, somebody that's like charismatic, is sharp, that doesn't have a lot of baggage, that I don't have to like recode their whole brand. They're just like, yes, sir, what do I need to do? I'll do anything. Well, good. We'll just sit there and be quiet, and I'm gonna show you how to make money, and then I'll start teaching you afterwards. And I just feel like that's how I would want to be taught, and so that's how I'd probably teach somebody else.
Well,
Yeah.
just to wrap it up to the camera, like what last pieces of advice would you give to a rep looking to start or acquire the business?
I would say there's no other way around it. You have to ask yourself what in this world is going to stick around and what is in this world. Because if you're doing it for the money, I'm not the guy to talk to. But if you're doing it for the purpose and then the money comes, then now you're living on purpose. And I can't give some scripted answer of other than you have to go down to your key decision-making process in life and what is going to last in this world. And if you do claim to have faith and there was a GoPro attached to your mind, how are you living each day? How are you really operating beyond business? Because money is the root of all evil. The love for the money of it is. And so if you're loving the money, it will lead you into evil by default. You may not think of evil as killing, like killing, stabbing somebody, but it's like, it will lead you away from what God has in store for you. And so if you try to do it for any other reason, I'm just not the guy to help you with that, because I mean, it's not a fun process for me to help me take somebody under my wing and lead them away from what God had designed them to do. So I can't give a worldly answer on that. It's gotta be, and it's bigger than purpose, but it's like God has an assignment over your life, and it may not even be financial success in this world. It may be the people and the relationships and the friendships that you make along the way that are so much more valuable than having 8 million versus 22 million. And somebody could say, well, I hustled harder, but it's like, well, I had maybe more fulfillment because I get to be with my wife and kids. And so I don't have any other advice than that. So
That's advice.
yeah,
Thank
I appreciate
you so
that.
much. It was amazing having you all for you about your journey and insights. Definitely appreciated it. And to our listeners, if you want to know more about starting or acquiring your own business, visit us at rep2owner.com and stay tuned for the next episode.